There are films, and then there is Eraserhead, a triumph of imagination and a testament to the boundless possibilities of cinema. David Lynch's debut masterpiece didn't just step into the world of filmmaking, it kicked open a door to a realm we have never seen before. Eraserhead is one of my favorite David Lynch films, and today I wanted to talk about how this dark nightmare came to be. So strap in and look into the radiator with me as we journey through the making of David Lynch's debut film, Eraserhead. David Lynch attended the American Film Institute in Los Angeles in 1970, and for Lynch, moving to Los Angeles was like stepping out of a dark closet into a paradise of sunshine. He loved LA. AFI at the time was housed in a mansion, a 55-room situated on 18 acres of land which was built in 1928. Lynch began classes on September 25th alongside AFI's first graduating class, which included filmmakers Terrence Malick, Caleb Deschanel, Tim Hunter, and Paul Schrader. At the time, David Lynch had written a short treatment titled Garden Back, and he was interested in making it. However, his superiors and mentors at AFI wanted the story to be bigger and offered him $50,000 to turn that short treatment into a full-length picture. With the help of his mentors and peers, they started padding Garden Back, and Lynch absolutely hated it. By the time the treatment had turned into a feature, Lynch was over it and walked away from the project. It was around this time that the story of Eraserhead started to percolate. Unfortunately, at this time, AFI had funded a fellow student to make a feature film, and it ended up being a complete disaster, so funding from AFI to make a feature was likely not going to happen again for the foreseeable future. When Lynch entered into his second year at AFI, he noticed that he was enrolled in first-year classes. Enraged by this slight from the school, he marched into the head office and declared, "I quit." He and his sound collaborator, Alan Splett, who also attended AFI, both quit and went out for coffee. When Lynch arrived home, his wife Peggy told Lynch that the school had been trying to reach him for hours. He eventually decided to meet with the school, and they told him that if he's feeling like he needs to quit school, then they have failed him. They then proceeded to ask him what it would take in order for him to stay enrolled. Lynch said he'd stay if he was allowed to make Eraserhead. So the school said, "If you want to make Eraserhead, you can make Eraserhead." The school funded him $10,000 to make the film, and pre-production began shortly after. Below the AFI mansion was a huge complex of abandoned servants' quarters, a garage, stables, and a hayloft. Lynch quickly realized that this complex would be perfect to set up shop and create a studio for filming. Little did he know that he would be there for the next 4 years. In this makeshift studio, he created a camera room, a food room, and a green room for dressing and makeup. With the studio set up, the money in the bank, and the equipment rented from the school, it was time to acquire the cast. David Lynch met Jack Nance, who would play the main role of Henry, through a mutual friend at AFI. Lynch met with Nance one time and hired him. In fact, every cast member he met for Eraserhead was the first person he met with and hired on the spot. Lynch recalls on how small the crew actually was for the production. During that first year, the only people there were the actors Doreen Small, Catherine Coulson, Herb Cardwell, the DP, then Fred Elms when he took over as DP from Herb, and me. Al Splett was there when we would shoot location sound, but other than that, nobody else was there, ever. Over a 4-year period, there were a few weekends when extra people showed up to help, but day in and day out, that was the crew. Right there, that's it. One of the first happenstance moments for Eraserhead was the look of Henry's hair. On the first night of shooting, Charlotte Stewart, who plays Mary X, was styling Jack Nance's hair, and she just so happened to style his hair up and made the cast and crew laugh. Lynch walks in, takes one look at Jack's hair, and says, "That's it." So coincidentally, Charlotte played a major role in the creation of Henry. Lynch was big on rehearsal and was extremely meticulous when it came to the movements of Henry. Every look, motion, and action was rehearsed and choreographed, which was important given the fact that there was very little dialogue in the script. A year into production, money was running dry, and DP Herb Cardwell exited the film. Luckily, Lynch met with another fellow student, Fred Elms, who decided to come on and replace Herb. Fred recalls meeting with Lynch. Lynch would show him dailies of what they had shot thus far. Fred was utterly confused on what he was watching, but it didn't matter because he was captivated by the black and white photography and the mood it brought with it. He said yes immediately. Mood was extremely important for Lynch and DP Fred Elms. They shot exclusively at night on the AFI grounds because no one was around and it was secluded and quiet. Elms recalls that the film couldn't be dark enough. Elms and Lynch would comb over dailies and they'd see detail in the shadows that shouldn't have been there. They both agreed to make it darker. Lynch was under the philosophy that the most important thing you create for a film is mood. Yes, the acting is important, yes, the writing is important, but the mood and the feeling of the light is what makes a film take off. And if you allow me to inject my own opinion here, I 100% agree. This is probably why David Lynch's work resonates with me in such a profound way. Mood is everything. I can watch a film for the first time and figure out within the first 5 minutes whether I'll like the movie or not just from the mood alone. With Eraserhead, Lynch told the story almost purely through mood and the way things look. For the film's exterior shots, they had to run and gun it as they did not have permits for the locations. One of those locations was beneath a bridge in downtown LA. It's the opening moment of the film where we watch Henry walking along. Props were another huge aspect of Eraserhead, and nothing is more infamous than that creepy, disgusting baby nicknamed Spike by main actor Jack Nance. Lynch has never revealed how they achieved the look of the baby, and no one has ever really talked about it. It's the most famous prop from the film, and yet no one really knows how they achieved it. Some say it's a puppet, some say it's a live animal like a baby goat. In my opinion, the fact that Lynch nor his crew will talk about how they made the baby makes me believe that they used a real animal. I mean, just look at that thing. Sure, it could be a puppet, but man, it looks like a real living, breathing animal. So the fact that they won't talk about it means they're probably concerned with getting into trouble because they used a live animal, but hey, that's just my opinion. Then there's the giant baby head, and the giant baby head was constructed in Lynch's yard and took several months to complete. Other notable props were the umbilical cords. Lynch had props master Doreen Small acquire these umbilical cords. She ended up getting them from a hospital by lying to them, saying that they'd be, put in jars to be used in the background. Those are real umbilical cords, and Doreen got about 5 or 6 of them. She was also able to get the dog and the litter of puppies by calling around to different vets, asking if anyone had dogs with new litters. Along with the props were the incredible sets, and this is where Lynch's genius shines. The sets were largely built out of scavenged materials. Everything was repurposed and reused to create the many sets, including an apartment, a lobby, a theater stage, a pencil factory, a suburban home, an office, and a front porch. Lynch and sound genius Al Splett soundproofed the sets with blankets and fiberglass insulation and burlap bags. Principal photography began on May 29, 1972. The first scene to be shot was the family dinner with Henry, Mary, and Mary's parents. Charlotte Stewart, who plays Mary, recounts that first night. "I couldn't believe how long everything took that first night. And the reason it took so long was because David had to do everything himself. Really, he did everything. The light fixtures had to be just so. He made the chickens for dinner. He had to touch everything on set. I remember thinking, oh my god, this kid is never going to make it. He doesn't understand that you can't take this long in this business. I felt bad for him that he didn't know this." It's worth noting that Charlotte went on to star in all 3 seasons of Twin Peaks. Eraserhead was beginning to consume Lynch's life at this point, and sadly, caused Lynch and his then-wife Peggy Reavey to get divorced. It was also around this time that Lynch was introduced to meditation from his younger sister Martha. Lynch latched onto meditation like it was his lifeline. Meditation was so important to Lynch that it became part of his life up until he passed away. It was here where the ending to Eraserhead changed, just as Lynch was changing. In the original ending, the baby consumes Henry. But that ending changed after Lynch was sketching a woman and had the idea of the woman in the radiator, who Lynch describes as a character representing hope. Lynch says that without finding meditation, the woman in the radiator wouldn't have come to be. Almost a year after production began, Lynch had burned through all of the money AFI had given him. AFI told Lynch that he could still rent out the equipment, but any additional funds to help finish the film would not happen. This caused production of Eraserhead to go on a hiatus that continued intermittently for the next 3 years. Lynch would take on numerous jobs in order to keep money coming in to shoot the film. He was lucky enough that his cast and crew were still motivated to finish Eraserhead in a stop-and-go pace over these few years. Production ended in 1975, and from 75 until early 1976, Lynch cut the film while sound artist Al Splett cut sound. It was during these 8 months of intensive work that Eraserhead became the masterpiece that it is. Here is where we get the calculated cuts from Lynch and the unforgettable sound work from Splat. The menacing barking of a dog, the whistle of a distant train, the hiss of churning machinery, and the hollow room tone that embodies loneliness. The way they built the soundtrack for Eraserhead is just brilliant. After premiering in a few festivals, word got around to producer and distributor Ben Barenholtz. Barenholtz was the originator of the midnight movie programming, championing weird counterculture films. It was here where films like John Waters' Pink Flamingo would find an audience. Barenholtz's company, Libra Films, agreed to distribute the film. Eraserhead premiered at the Cinema Village in Manhattan in the fall of 1977, and over the course of the year, it became a word-of-mouth sensation on the midnight movie circuit. John Waters encouraged his fans to see Eraserhead, and the GOAT, Stanley Kubrick, loved the film. David Lynch's name started to get around. I want to end here with a quote from Lynch's best friend, Jack Fisk, about the release of Eraserhead. David connects with a lot more people than you'd expect, and there's something about his vision that people identify with. The first time I saw Eraserhead was at a midnight screening at the Newark, and the audience was riveted and knew all of the dialogue. I thought, oh my god, he's found an audience for his stuff. So, what is Eraserhead? A nightmare? A dream? A riddle with no answer? Perhaps it's all of these things. Perhaps it's none. But what's certain is that the story behind its making is as captivating as the film itself. A tale of one artist's passion, perseverance, and the unyielding pursuit of the bizarre. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video and you want to see more of this kind of stuff, let me know in the comments below. And as always, I will see you on the next one.